Yo, chickadee check, check, chickadee check, yo. What up? What up? What up, YouTube? Yeah, that's right. I'm back. And I'm back with force. So we're gonna go broadcasting across all time and space right now. If you know what I'm saying. We're going on Twitter. We're going YouTube, Stock Market Media, Stock Twits. And if anybody wants to host me on their website, call me. Simulcast across the entire realm of stock market trading. And if you were with me today, you would have witnessed professional trading at its best because I was about to cover my short on the cues, and I said, I got to be forced out to want to cover. And from that moment on, we've been short the whole time, and we just covered at the lows of the day. Cheers to you. I like that cover down there at 5596. Like that, huh? It's all pre-programmed, my friends. All right, let me just welcome in the metaverse, the other verses. All right, first it's just my face. Look at me. Hey, what's going on? My name is Kenny Glick. You probably know me by now. We are short the market right now, and we're putting on a clinic. If you don't know me, you should. And if I am broadcasting to the people that I think I am, 2 million people on the website, there should be at least 1,500,000 watching me right this second because I've been doing this my whole life. I've been trading since the womb. My dad was a fan of the market and teaching me what I know. Basically since birth. Been in the market since, day I was born. Been pretty hip to what's going on. Started my career, if you want to call it that. I was an awful stockbroker. And then day trading became a thing, and I was right there. That's why I'm not just the father of it, I'm the grandfather, which I want to change that right now. So if you're listening out there, and I know you are, let's call me the granddaddy or the grandpappy, grandfather. It's just too stop. It's just too old sounding. Let's call me the granddaddy of day trading, right? A lot of what we do nowadays didn't exist before us. And we didn't use charts. We didn't use squiggly lines or candlesticks or what I swear by now, which is a volume weighted average price. We just traded price action and we started to learn a little bit about order flow and just what they call tape reading and just learning market mechanics. So all that stuff that I learned 30 years ago still applies today. But now I took that and bottled it. And I took a trade that's been working for me for 30 years, and it was working really well. It's the earnings reversal reversion trades, right? Gap baiting and buying stocks that are in there, they're getting hammered, looking for the turn, or stocks that are gapped up and looking for the rollover. I've coupled that with VWAP, and it now has provided the trade. I know this sounds silly, but it works every time. Yes. Did this guy just say he's got a trade that works every time? That's impossible. I know. It sounds impossible. Let me just reiterate. I've had losing trades. I've had losing years. I've had 3 years in a row where I just couldn't get out of my own way. That was prior to VWAP. Between 2012 and 2015, I didn't think I had one winning trade. And I managed to survive those 3 years. Didn't really tell my wife too much about what I was doing at the time. Kind of wandered the streets of Manhattan aimlessly like a lunatic. And I just couldn't get it right because I was fighting the market. I believed I was right and nobody was going to tell me I was wrong. Shorting everything, getting killed, going through all my life savings, convinced I was right. And then I had to give up because I was going to be broke. And I was going to have to sell my house. And I had a new kid. And it wasn't a good time for me. And I took a step back and I looked at the trades that used to work for me. And Brian Shannon, who is a advocate of using VWAP exclusively, he showed the light to a friend of ours, Zach Hurwitz, who I still credit for saving my life. VWAP and Zach literally saved my career, saved my life. And Zach would watch me trade, and And I would just use my candlesticks and I would draw my own red lines like you see on the chart. Let me get my charts up here for you guys over on StockTwits. Hang on. And share and screen and entire screen. And let's go. We all good there, StockTwits? So what I swear by now is a combination of all the things that I've learned, and I use it now. I use VWAP to tell me whether I'm right or wrong. I have, well, if you know me, I have a pretty big ego. I do love to talk shit, but I've been humbled by the market to the point where most people would never be able to come back from. Luckily, I did well enough in 1999 and those years. And again, I made most of my money on the way down because I never saw anything like what was going on in 1999. And my dad was a conservative investor, and he's like, hey, "This is not going to end well. Stocks are not supposed to do that." And I became a day trader, and I was shorting everything, and I was getting crushed. My mentor explained to me what the dash of trash was, and he said, "Hang on to these short positions. I know you're getting your ass kicked right now, but it's going to turn. It's going to turn in a big way," and it did. And I lived off that money for almost a decade, and I've been a fan of shorting ever since, even though it's not a really good way to make a living as a shorter in a perpetual bull market. And these last, really, especially this year, 2025, you tried to stay short anything. Obviously, pump and dump biotech stocks that are worthless, they'll eventually go back down. But trying to be a shorter in the market that just does not want to go down, very difficult endeavor. But if you're using VWAP, the reason I say it saved my life is that stocks, when they break back over VWAP, and what I use is multiple time frame VWAP, don't go down. And if you are a shorter, it's telling you basically blatantly, you better cover here. Not only should you cover, but join the other side and go long. And one of my favorite phrases now is shorting is short lived and you're going to die. Because a lot of people don't have the money to blow through like I did to learn that lesson. And, lessons not learned in blood are often forgotten. I'll never forget what I did to my life. And I did it for almost 2.5, 3 years, and I was able to survive. So fast forward to where we are right now, and the reason I was short today is that it's almost like an ironic short. This market really doesn't want to go down. I'm like, is seasonality really going to kick in on day one? I understand we've seen some selling as of late, but the idea that September is notoriously a weak month, and just to kick it off the way we did this morning, I was like, this is like almost funny. So I was like, I can't trust it. And this morning, you didn't really have a reason to trust it. So what you're looking at on my screen, this blue line is today's VWAP. And you see how the market, right? You were trending down all morning. And what I was saying to myself is, okay, when's the joke going to be over? Because the joke's always on me as a shorter. And that joke is usually when we get what's called a faux show grow. Okay? And this chart pattern has been the only chart pattern that I've seen that works this well. There is nothing better. There's a variety of it, and I'll show you a couple of them while we get into the show. But usually the shorter, and I speak from experience, we always overstay our welcome because shorting is short-lived, and you're going to die because we're in a perpetual bull market. The market generally, you'll have your corrections and your crashes, but if you look at any chart from the last 100 years, all those moments that we were scared shitless, that it was unprecedented, we're all going to die, they're just little tiny farts in the wind of a market that has gone straight up for 100 years, and it's probably going to continue that way, and even more so because we are headed into a new industrial revolution with space rockets, robots, AI, quantum, and chips. You're telling me that this market's not going to keep powering its way higher when we're about to go into a new industrial revolution where we're going to be colonizing Mars and colonizing the moon and space rockets, robots, AI, quantum, and chips? That's going to power us a lot further. And I really, truly believe we're about to go up another 100% from here in the next 3 years. And I'm talking about Dow 100,000. I'm talking about the Qs going to 1,000 minimum. And I'm a bear. but I'm not a delusional bear anymore. I used to be delusional, thinking, all right, this is all smoke and mirrors. It's all a bunch of bullshit. The whole market's built on hope and faith. Great. The reason VWAP is the greatest way to trade is that no matter what you think, right, VWAP will tell you whether or not you're right or wrong. And there's nothing more gratifying than having an idea and then having that idea validated by what you know works. Because there is no doubt trading VWAP exclusively, it works. For me, it's been almost 10 years now, more. I know it works, especially for the shorters, and especially when to cover your short. But the number one thing about it is it validates what you think. So isn't it fantastic to come in like, all right, man, I hear a lot of people chirping about this open trade, right? I'm going to put it up on the screen. I didn't really trade too many stocks today. Open was one of them. And let me get rid of the red lines because that's where I do my own buying and selling. So here's open. And you guys, we're all familiar with the stock, right? Here's my opinion. It's a pump and dump piece of shit. Inevitably, it'll be at zero. And I find it hilarious that it's now become this newsworthy stock everywhere you go. I mean, even at this wedding, somebody asked me about it. So what do you think about this open? I'm like, how the hell do you know about this open? And it's just like everybody knows about it. And in the essence of that, that's what as I was told, was the crowded trade. And the crowded trade generally doesn't end well because everybody's thinking one thing, yeah, chances are you want to go the other way. Almost like the GameStop saga, right? Now, again, the GameStop saga really opened up a lot of eyes to the power of the short squeeze. That GameStop and AMC moment that this market had was nothing new. Short squeezes have been going on since I started trading in 1996. My mentor was telling me about it, kind of why he was telling me that the market was going to crash in 2000, 2001, because the only stocks that were moving at the time were these worthless pieces of garbage that were being squeezed. And he explained to me that when these are the only stocks that are moving, there's really nothing good to buy in the overall market, and it's susceptible to a downturn. Kind of what we've been witnessing, and we're finally seeing some follow through, but we've seen the dash for trash now going on for 18 months. There seems to always be these pump and dumps almost every day. That's why today in this market environment, not just today in general, but this market that we're in by far dwarfs. Anytime you hear the legends of the 90s, this trading is better. You have more accessibility, more stocks to choose from, more liquidity, more platforms, more people using it. And that's why what we do by using volume weighted average price, that's taking into consideration all of that. It's taking in all the volume of the stocks. So it's really important to know where the institutional or where that volume was. Not my 2,000 shares of open. My 2,000 shares of open, insignificant. But what VWAP is telling you is where the real money is going in. That's what I want to know, where institutional money is and where algorithmic money is. A lot different from back in the 90s. And again, if you believe some of the conspiracy theories, why the market crashed in 1987 was because they started to implement algorithms. There was no true economic reason for the 87 crash, and the idea that there's rumors that they were just playing with the system and the system went haywire and we crashed. Kind of like the flash crash, it was kind of the same thing. And you understand that algorithmic trading is the way to go now. The computers are running the system. The computers are almost pre-programmed, and the news that you think is moving the market is incidental, it's coincidental. Incidental, it's almost meaningless. And the more you watch the way we trade, VWAPians, as we call ourselves, you will start to believe that a lot of these moves are pre-programmed specifically to specific prices. And we just witnessed it right now. Let me go to the QQQ because we just covered a big portion of our short. Now, why did we cover a big portion of our short, and why was my red line right there? Because stocks tend to go back and ebb and flow to the exact prices from whence they came. So the blue line was the reason that we got short in the first place, right? When we rolled over and broke today's VWAP. And our targets were just the prices from where they pivoted from before we got short. So when I said I think the Qs are going to go test the lows at 559.54 when we got short at 563.20, look where we went to. 555, 559, 54. The same exact price. So when I show this and I demonstrate this on a daily basis for 4 hours a day, it's no longer a debate. I win the debate. I won the car. Give me the prize. Because we show this stock, we show this every single day. So I want to go back to the open trade and the ironic nature of this trade. And the reason I'm drawing these prices here is that if a stock did something in the pre-market or what we now have the overnight session, because we're generally live all the time, you have to factor those in as significant areas, right? Not just areas, the price itself. So the reason I call this the ironic trade of the day is that I came in and I'm thinking, man, some dude I met in Colorado is talking about this stock. Everyone's talking about this. Some activist is talking about this. This stock is a dog shit piece of garbage that's going to be at zero. But who cares where it's going to be 3 months from now? This thing has been one of the greatest stocks to trade over the last basically it's been about a month now, maybe even 3 months since it came out of what we call the Andy Dufresne. And I don't want to pat myself on the back, but I will. I was onto the stock before everybody because that's what I do. I look for these dog shit stocks because I'm a bear for when they get squeezed because shorting is short-lived and you're going to die. Even stocks like this that have no business going up, and look, it's gone up 1,000% off those lows just from June. You want to pile into a stock that's already up 1,000%? Go for it. I'm being sarcastic there. But if it's going to trade all over the place, pump, dump, I'm loving it because we're just day traders. I don't care where the stock's going to be 6 months from now or a year from now. In my opinion, I would say the stock's going to be sub-zero. They're going to do a reverse stock split, and then they'll be out of business. But before it does that, let's have some fun. That's what trading's all about, right? So if you're going to pump and dump it and pump and dump it and then pump it again, and then some guy I met in Colorado is asking me my opinion. He thinks the stock's going to $20. I'm like, why? Because you read about it on the internet? He's like, yeah. I'm like, well, that's not really a reason to buy the stock. And I was like, do you have any idea what they do? He's like, no, not really. I'm like, they don't do anything. They try to sell houses online. And my wife's in the business. She's in the real estate business. And my wife doesn't know anything about stocks. And then about a year ago or 2 years ago, when I told her about this, the funniest thing, I've never heard my wife use the phrase shorted, but she knows it exists. She's like, whatever that is, shorted. And she was dead right. And what was that, 3 years ago now? I think it was a $40 stock, garbage, right? And if you owned it this whole time, let me see, what was the high of this thing? I think it was around $40, right? Yeah, $40. My wife said, no one's buying houses without doing a walkthrough. This company will be at zero. And she pretty much nailed it. It went from $39 to 50 cents. But that's when I come in. Because when stocks won't want to die, they are a buy. And this thing didn't want to die. And when it woke up, it's been one of our favorite trades for the last couple of months. I think it's been, almost 3 months now. Right? Yeah, roughly. Right. So what you're looking at here on the chart is a 3-month VWAP. And when it rolled over and broke it, I'm thinking, all right, this thing's going back to zero. But then it acted as support, held on the pullback, starts to rally. And next thing you know, you're like, you know what? I think we're fans of open again. And I still call it open table. Where's my old school fans? Remember open table? That's what this stock used to be. This is not even the same stock that I thought it was back in the day at one point. I keep have to reminding myself this is a whole different company. They reverse, whatever they They use the same symbol to create a new company. Used to be open table and make reservations for restaurants. And now it's a worthless real estate wannabe stock. Again, as a day trader, I don't care. You give me the action, I'm in. So let's fast forward to what we did today. So I came in, and my first instinct was, I can't wait to short the stock, right? Because when, the old adage, when your barber's telling you about, or when the cab driver is telling you he's long stocks, it's usually not a good time to be buying stocks. When some stranger who doesn't know about this company says he owns it, that's bearish. So I came in, I'm like, I'm looking to short this stock today, and next thing you know, I'm buying it. And that's why I'm still doing this after 30 years. Because I check what I think at the door. It ain't about what I think. Because the stock did exactly what I want to see. It broke the low of the day. Then it came back and it broke VWAP. And then that orange line, which is prior to VWAP, it went there. But before it got there, you see that little pivot point right here at the 440, which was the pre-market pivot? So what I do is I have rules. So if I see a stock that does the fake out, shake out, so fake out, shake out, breakout, faux show, bro, trade's been working since 96, since we invented the term, me and my friend Bobby Krieger. Fake out, shake out. But now what I've learned, and as I was saying, how I've taken what I've learned for 30 years, and now I just use VWAP exclusively to confirm what I believe. Because I can believe something, but if it's not being confirmed by VWAP, I just keep that shit to myself. Oh, you got a faux show row and a VWAP break and a pre-market pivot break? I'm in. But Kenny, I thought you hate the stock. I know, but it's doing the thing that I want to see it do. So at $5, and I should have been buying it right there at $4.25, but I wound up buying it at $4.40. And as soon as I bought it at $4.40, it got to the prior day VWAP, which is where I sold a little bit. But what I've also learned by using VWAP exclusively, that if the stock gets over today's VWAP and over prior day VWAP, I had the overnight high where I believed it was going to go to, and it went to 465. So we sold a little bit there. Then we said, wow, how high can this thing go? So then we just looked at 2 days worth of motion, right? I'm going to put it on the 5-minute chart so I can show it to you. The stock had peaked out at 493 just the other day. And then you had this candle right there at 487. And you had this candle at 478. So those are my new targets, because when I see a stock get through some prior levels from today, I go back 1 day. Usually I'll be looking at prior day VWAP. In this case, VWAP wasn't really helping me, so I go back to price. And I use exact price. Exact price. So hey, the stock went, when it broke 465 last time, it went to 475. Great. If it gets to 475, I'm selling some. All right, cool. If it keeps on going, I'm looking for it to get to that high print where we got to. So if it gets to 487, I'm going to sell some. So then what I do, we got the 1 minute, we got our multi-day, and now we have our price targets. At 487, I'm thinking 493. But then it rolls over, and then we let the stock tell us what to do. If it breaks back below prior levels where we sold, we sell on the way back down. So we sold it on the way back down at 475, and then inevitably got stopped out of the rest at 465. And that was the end of the trade. But the ironic nature of the stock and the trade in itself is what I'm talking about it. Because this trade, and what I demonstrated today, and we have some new friends and watching me every day. And again, if you don't know who I am, I'm Kenny Glick. I've been doing this for 30 years, pretty much since life. Google me and take a moment to come join us. My website is hitthebid.com. And what I do is I dance like a monkey, basically from 9 o'clock in the morning, or sometimes I get started a little bit earlier if there's a lot of earnings reports to talk about. And I'll show you the Neo in a second. And I just do this. what we're demonstrating right now. And if you're going to get into this industry and you want to be a day trader, not caring about where Palantir is going to be 6 months from now, where the Qs are going to be 2 years from now, it's irrelevant. You want to make money every day, I'm the man. Because every mistake that I've ever made has been corrected by VWAP. I'm going to make mistakes, but they're never going to be detrimental to the point where I'm wandering around not telling my wife how much money I'm losing like I did between 2012 and 2015, because VWAP's not going to let that happen to me. And it's also going to confirm or deny any inkling or notion or idea that I ever have ever again. Just like that open trade. Because I came in gleefully waiting to crush this stock. Because I know it's going down. But the VWAP said, not today. And I was like, cool, I'm in. And if you can get to the point where you not only accept that you're wrong, but embrace the idea that you're wrong and join in on the winning trade, you are now a good trader. The bad trader is my prior life. And I did well, and I thought I knew what I was doing. And I gave it all back. Never again. Never again. So what I do now for a living is I trade. I try to get my daily bread. But most of the time I spend is educating people onto how the market actually works and how to check your ego or check what you think. I'm glad you think you know something. You don't. Right? Does anybody really know if open table is going to go to $8 to zero? Nobody knows. Right? But the one thing you can do, if you really do analyze some of these stocks, none of them have any value. The whole market's based on hope and faith and what somebody else will come along and buy something from you, right? So the idea, right, is to just accept that and let it wash over you. So let's take a moment. And if you're just joining us right now, it's okay to close your eyes. I know I'm handsome, but just close your eyes for a second. And breathe in the VWAP. And breathe out the doubt. Breathe in the VWAP. And breathe out the CNBC. Breathe in the VWAP. Hold it. And breathe out the fear. You're now a better trader. You are a better trader now. And if you sit with me, and by the way, I also do something on Thursday nights, but before we get to that, I also do a podcast with someone who looks at the market completely different than I do. And I find it to be an amazing dynamic so far. We're on episode 3. My friend, he believes in the fundamentals. Don Corleone, his name is Chris. And if you're not following him, you should. It's a great follow. He analyzes the companies. And as I told Chris once before, I don't care if Warren Buffett calls me and says, Kenny, I got a great idea for you. I'll say, you know what, Warren? I'm going to wait till VWAP confirms your buy before I listen to you. And that's what I love about the dynamic that we have going on in the podcast, because he's got his ideas, I've got my way of trading. And when those things combine, you really have what we call the trader's edge, which is the name of the podcast. And also, if you are available Thursday night, if I'm here, and if you want to get in touch with me, I do give up my personal email address, and you might get a kick out of this. It's Kenny Glick at AOL.com. What? I know. AOL? And the reason I keep it is a think piece, and it's also a reminder of days of gone, that days wasn't days of yore, days of old. Remember AOL? Some of you guys don't know what I'm talking about. AOL.com. And the reason I'm a bear is specifically AOL.com. And that's why I love being bearish, because whatever you think is the new hottest possible thing, oh my God, it can never fail. That's the way we thought about AOL. Do you guys remember Yahoo? Yahoo Finance. Remember that? Remember Geocities or GeoCities? How about CMGI? You want to incubate some internet stocks for you? How'd that all work out? Where's Global Crossing nowadays? You guys got the idea. SDLI? JDSU? What's going on? Whatever you think you know about this market, the market tends to remind you quite often that you don't know. And that's why I love the VWAP, because the VWAP knows. The VWAP doesn't lie. The VWAP is the market. So going back to that idea, let's say you have a fantastic idea, and then it gets validated by the VWAP. Oh, baby, you better be getting short. I mean, you better be getting into that trade. And then more importantly, if you're a shorter and you see your stock breaking back above the VWAP, for instance, you see what the open's doing right now? If I was a shorter, I'd be real nervous because you're consolidating right under the VWAP. And when it breaks back over the VWAP, tends to go up. Now, again, you qualify that right now. If you have been trading as long as I have, anybody have a lot of success at 12:30 in the afternoon? Put your hand up. Anybody have a lot of success trading at 12:30? Anybody ever have a lot of success trading at 12:30 in the afternoon? Please. Ever since I've been trading, between the hours of what? 11:45 to about what? 2:15, 2:30. I'm kind of meandering around, right? So the edge, as Don would say, kind of lessens. So what do you do in those moments? You do what we're doing right here. We kind of analyze. We go over some stocks. We review and we prepare for the afternoon, if not preparing for tomorrow, because I'm already on to tomorrow. And the reason I'm on to tomorrow is because I do believe this market is going to go down. And we've already conquered the day. We got our VWAP rate. We got our cover here, cover here, cover here, cover there. We're done with the trade now. So now whatever happens doesn't matter to me, but the only importance is that the lows that we held today are right above last week's lows. Let me show you the whole kit and caboodle right here. So we're talking about 30 days on an hourly, and you will see the entire world. Okay? So there is that wonderful Friday afternoon sell-off that we had when Apple reported earnings and reversed. What happened after that? The shorters got overzealous. They overstayed their welcome. Shorting is short-lived, and you're going to die. And we ripped and crushed anybody who thought shorting was a good way to go. But it was fantastic that day. And then we had our little mini correction. That correction was then bought into. And then we had our NVIDIA numbers where I was on the floor with my friend Don. And we laughed, we giggled, we said, oh, maybe this is the catalyst that the market's going to sell off. And the funny part is that that day, NVIDIA went down 10, but then rallied, and the market went up the next day. And then the sell-off happened. And now we're in that continuation of that sell-off. Was it the NVIDIA report or is it seasonality? That's for you to decide. I don't care. Let me tell you what I'm thinking is going to happen. Now that we've got that wonderful sell-off, and I do think we're going to be testing those August lows, but I think those August lows are not going to hold this time. And I think seasonality will kick in. And I do think the market's going to go down. But that's a lot of thinking there, Kenny. Does thinking work in this market? No. Especially if you're thinking about down. But what I'm looking at here now is a 3-month chart. And that lovely orange line. And the way we use VWAP exclusively is that not only do we use it on a daily basis, we use it on a multiple time frame basis. And that's not just for the day, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, which is where I usually like to look at VWAP for 5 days worth. But once we breach 5 days, I start looking at weeklies and monthlies and even yearlies. So what this is showing you is this monstrous rally that we've had from the beginning of June all the way to those highs, hitting into our little two mini corrections, and you can see it. We held here, we held here, we held here, we held here, we rallied, looking like we're headed back to that price, right? And if it looks apparent, generally you're on to something. So now today, because we conquered on the short and we did all right, covered near the lows, we're out of the short right now. Tomorrow, what I'm hoping for, and this is big, this is super big. If today was Tuesday, if today was Monday, right? When we have the Monday sell-off, what do they call Tuesday? Turnaround Tuesday. Because usually we'll sell off on the week Friday, follows through on Monday, turnaround Tuesday, and the bull market begins again. But now that we're having it on a Tuesday, I guess we'll call it Whip It Out Wednesday. Or Whip It Out, Whip Around Wednesday. What I think might happen, and again, this is a big if, and we'll see how we close in the next 3 or 4 hours. So if you do say prayers to the stock gods and you are looking to short something like I am, here's what you want to say a prayer to. So I do really believe that we're going to be testing not just those Wednesday's lows. Right there, that last sell-off, right? That's just from August 1st. That was the Apple sell-off Friday. The 3-month VWAP is right there. So if we don't hold that, and I think that's where we're going to be looking at tomorrow, I have no doubt we're going to be testing that really major support level right there, and which would be the pivot of the 55170. But know what can get scary now is this. Underneath that support, there ain't much left until way down to around 524. And then what that orange line is telling me, and that orange line is taking into everything. That's 6 months of VWAP. That takes into the Trump candle, and hope you guys were there for that day. I just want to give it up for my partner in crime, Solid Jello, who on April 9th called the low today, almost to the penny. I mean, you have to take my word for it, and that's why I invite you guys to all come to hitthebid.com, where me and my partner in crime, he goes by the name of Solid Jello, and he has taken what Brian Shannon and Zach Hurwitz and just careful experimentation using VWAP, and he's programmed his own VWAP algorithm to trade around VWAP. And it is something to behold, and it is just magical, and it's organic, and it's beautiful, and it's something that works. And at that moment, he was saying, this is the buy of the century, right at basically 404. And he put a target on the Qs. I know you're not going to believe this, but he said, we're going to probably rally all the way to August 18th. And August 18th, he said, not only should you sell, but it would be time to go short. Probably, and I've been in the business for quite some time, probably one of the most amazing calls I've ever seen in my life. And it's just all algorithmic because he's a true believer, as I am, as am I. And now we're in that limbo part right now. So now I'm going back to what I'm just looking at, right? We've already won this trade. Now it's, what can you do for me now? Especially for my new guys that came to the website. So far, I put on a clinic today. Thank you very much. Did well on the open. We had one other trade in Neo. Wasn't really much to talk about, but we did all right with it. I'll show you a little bit more about that later. But it was the QQQ short, and the idea that you just don't get out of your entire position at one price. Because as I was doing this live, I got short basically on the way up because I was trying to pick the top. Picking tops doesn't work. But I tried because I thought the market was going to roll over. But I gave myself the stop at the high of the day, and we never breached it, right? And then, as I explained to you, the faux show bro is a reason to short. When you hit a new high, roll over, try to get over that high, and then roll. That's the faux show bro reverse, and we call that the finger of God. It's the rollover, the F5 hurricane. And when you roll over all that bullishness that you were thinking, faux show, bro, VWAP break, we're never going to go down, bull market, yeah. That little tick kept me in my short because I don't get out of my entire position at one price. And not only did I hang in there with it, once it was confirmed that, oh my God, I actually survived being short in a market that never goes down, now you had a chance to add to it. And then you see right there, friends, that's the confirmation. We finally broke VWAP, and then we got back to it, and we could not break over it. That confirms your bearishness. So when people are saying, is it too late? Is it too late? Oh, it's not too late because you just began a new entry right there with limited risk. So if you were looking to short the Qs, yeah, you missed it a little bit up there, but now you're getting confirmation that it was a short. And we hammered it, and we just covered it right before we got off the air. And then where we covered on the way down, we used those as stops on the way back up. So by 560, 560, 45, right here, 55, I'm done with the trade. So now let's talk about what I think is going to happen. Monday was a holiday. Today's Tuesday. So like I said, usually Monday sell-off, we have turnaround Tuesday. Tomorrow, we'll have to call it something else. Let's call it whip it out Wednesday or whip around Wednesday. Everyone's thinking, all right, we got to sell this out of the way. We're going to rally, market never goes down. And they could be right. I don't ever go out and say I'm going to be right about something. But when I have my idea, and again, please come to hitthebid.com and be with us live because that's the beauty. That's the best way to do it, to see us do this live. There's no denying whether we're making money or losing money when we're doing it live. And that's what I love about the way we trade. We're not guessing, right? We're acting on our idea. By the way, before I go any further, give it up for the Coles trade. Who's in the Coles trade? Sorry, I got to pivot here for a second because we got long the Coles, and this trade has turned out to be now my favorite trade of the day. Yes. Why? Now, show of hands if you're in the Coles right now. Right? You, guy in the back, first day here, right? Right? As I was explaining, and this is why we do this live. Right? The reason we do this live is that whilst we were short in the market and calling for the destruction of humanity and there's no hope in sight, I said, hey, let's buy some Coles. Why? Because let's go back. What did I learn from 1996? Bucking the trend. No, it's not what I said. Bucking the trend. Bucking the trend. Right? So when you have a stock that is going the opposite way of the overall market, the layman trader or the noob says, oh, let's short this thing. The market's gonna catch up to it. The whole market's getting hammered. And you got yourself a 1 minute multi-day VWAP reversal, a trade that hardly ever fails whilst the market was going down. So you got a stock that's bucking the trend and, of course, being confirmed by the only thing I look at. Look how clean my chart is. The red line was where it was breaking even. That was where I entered the trade. I should have been buying it here. Should have been buying it there. But 1 minute multi-day reversal trade is when a stock gets through the 1 minute, it gets through the prior day VWAP, and then it goes green. The 1 minute multi-day VWAP reversal. And look how lovely this trade was. And I hope you guys took it. All right. I just want to point out that I just scored it, and I just saw it breaking the 1550 where our offers were out. Again, if you sold it at 1550, well done. That's all we were looking for, and overshot by 20 cents. Very nice. And that was while we were short the Qs the whole time. So let's go back to this Q short, what I think is going to happen tomorrow. And if it does happen, I hope you guys participate because I think it's going to be a doozy. Now that we conquered today, and that Coles trade was just icing on the cake. What's up? Tell me I'm not the only one that took the Coles trade. Yes? No? Me? I'm all by myself here? Okay. So let's explain. Let's not miss this idea if I have tomorrow. So if we do sell off on Monday, usually we have a turnaround Tuesday. But today is Tuesday, so we have to be whip around Wednesday. But if the market doesn't find its footing tomorrow, right, and we break today's lows, that confirms, and I'm going to say this with a smile on my face, a downtrend in this market. I didn't think those existed. So if we confirm a downtrend, and tomorrow's, let's say we do get that what we call the sucker gap, and I'm hoping the sucker gap gets around 562.50 tomorrow, and we get a running start, because if relief, as they call it, the relief rally, or the turnaround Tuesday, the relief rally becomes dismay, it becomes fear. And fear begets selling, and selling begets more selling. And you think today's sell up to something, if we start rolling over tomorrow, we're going to puke it all out, because that's how the market does. Staircase up, staircase up, staircase up, open elevator shaft down, and it usually happens in 2 or 3 glorious, monstrous days. And I hope it's tomorrow or the next day. So I'm hoping for the rally now, because we just covered our shorts. I'm not going long, but I'm hoping we do rally and then gap tomorrow, because now if we gap tomorrow, right? Go back to that 30-day chart. If we gap tomorrow, break today's lows, last week's lows are $1 away, I don't have any debate of where we're going to see this QQQ go to, which is the low print from our last real selling that we had that Friday afternoon after the Apple reported. Now, the fun part would be if we break, because if we break, like I showed you, we can really just give back another, 4 or 5 points. And if that doesn't hold, yeah, baby, we're talking around 551. So that's another 10 points to the downside. But today, remember, we came in, the market was already low. We didn't really get an opportunity to get aggressively short. Tomorrow, if we're gapped up and we roll, that's when you can get aggressively short. And of course, we only trade daily options. So again, I don't want to root against you, but I am. If you're short the Qs right now, I'm rooting against you. I'd rather see it pop right now, but I'll be right back on your side tomorrow. But I'm already planning my day for tomorrow. Now, again, if it happens this afternoon, I will get short again, so I'm not going to miss out on it. And by the way, that's not a fear of missing out. If the trade sets up, I will get back in. But I'd rather have it happen tomorrow. And if you don't understand what I'm saying, is today you were coming in at a place of weakness already. If strength becomes weakness, that's when you can get aggressively short, because you tend to get really smacked when that relief becomes, oh no. And that's where we're at. So if anybody has any questions, I will take them for the next 12 or 15 minutes before we go. And feel free to just throw some symbols out there. Let's see if anybody's paying attention. I have an audio problem, weird echo. I have 17 mic storm, that's why. Let me see how many microphones. I think I actually have 3 microphones going at the same time, that's why. Bang. And poof. Check. Still got me? Baba booey. Check. We good? Yep, gotcha. All right. So if you guys have any idea, any questions, concerns, death threats, now would be the time. If anybody's long any stocks, I'm pretty much in cash. If anybody traded some of those swings I gave you a couple of weeks ago, I mean, the mob trade turned out to be phenomenal. Huge fan. Israeli drone stock, we got to 660, even broke all-time highs in the pre-market. I still own it, but took something off the table. Love it. Is TGT going to zero? Wow. Wow. When it breaks 92.06, there's a good chance you're going down a little bit more. But yeah, awful stock. Terrible. Yeah. Earnings are out. No good. Things breaking down. This thing looks like you got another 5 points to the downside. Not a fan. Not a fan. I was a fan for a while because I like when people hate stocks. Not a fan. Not a fan of Target anymore. I think you got another 5 points to the downside. You're below the 6-month VWAP, right? And here is you're down below the monthly. You tried to get over it, failed. There's your 3-month. And if you look at the 9-month VWAP, just an ugly looking chart, right? And it looks like it just got rejected at all those levels. Nowhere to go but testing at 87 and change. And then that's, you're looking at 2-year lows. And then I could take a 2-year VWAP. That's still above there. I mean, this thing is just awful. So let's take a look at 5 years worth of data. There's 3. And here is, oh man, there's nothing to really gauge it with. But let me go. Wow, we're looking at 10-year charts on if you're looking at a 10-year chart on a stock, you're generally in bad shape. Yeah. Wow. I mean, Jesus, when's the last time it's been this low? You got to go back, 15 years now? Let me see, 15 years on a monthly. Does that give you that's good. Give us a heads up. Dear Lord. Yeah. 87 inevitable. But you know what? You do have that. You do have some major support there. So, yeah, I mean, you're probably looking at the 87, the 85, 87 level. It better put up a fight, because if it doesn't, you're looking at 72 on the target. Ugly. Yeah, ugly. Alibaba, I hate it. I don't like any Chinese stocks, just like weed stocks. I can't condone buying them, but I got to admit, the way it reacted to its earnings, really, really good. And you're on the verge of a faux show, bro, right here. This is actually a lifetime VWAP breaking back above it. I don't want to admit that it looks good because I really don't like Chinese stocks, but there's that faux show bro I was talking about. There's the 9-month VWAP. You just broke over the range from the 3 months. Yeah, you look like you're about to tack on another 11 or so points here. And, people are loving the China trade. I'm not a fan. Again, I've been trading since the early 90s. I've got burned on every Chinese stocks. We sit here and make predictions every day while the market just consolidates and pumps. But hey, that 2-year crypto bear under Biden. I don't know what that means. Crowd, another sector. It's funny you mentioned 2 stocks that I really don't like. I don't like cybersecurity stocks. I believe this thing, and again, I shorted it a couple of weeks ago. I hate this stock, and I hope it does break down. No offense if you're in it, but you're right at a pivot point. It is the 9-month VWAP, which is the pivot point. You do have some strength under there, but I can't tell you how much I despise this industry. I think it's a complete scam. I think cybersecurity stocks are all garbage because all of them perpetuate the viruses themselves, and then they come to the rescue saying, hey, look, we figured it out. Meanwhile, it's them that put it out there. Really, really hate this stock. And again, I know the Pan W in the crowd has paid everybody, and I don't know, FEYE back in the day. I am not a fan, but again, I'm a bearish guy. I don't like most stocks, but open right now, to me, it's just a fantastic trading vehicle. I inevitably think it's going to zero, but my friends, like I was saying when we first came on the air, you might want to be buying it right now, right? Because stocks do not want to stay back. When they break back over prior day VWAP and today's VWAP, 9 times out of 10, you're going to get a profitable trade. And if you just bought it, you want to chickadee ching, cash in some right now and just use the blue and the orange as a stop. And also, when you do come to my website, I will bestow you this chart. So once you become a member of our website, I give you the mathematical formula that has saved my career, literally saved my career, saved my life. And I will give that to you. Right now, if I was long the open, I would stay in there. Again, 2 tight stops, 458, 454, and obviously a septuple bottom at 440, which coincidentally was where I bought it earlier. That was my entry price, the 440. That's a hard stop at 440. I would never let this thing go back below there. Okay, come on, we got 6 minutes. Spit them out. Faux show, bro, on the hood. And again, on the flip side, love it. Love the stock. And again, one of my best trades. Oh, I left on the table, but this was what I call, you guys know me, I mentioned the Andy Dufresne. This was one of the bigger Andy Dufresnes ever. And what is the Andy Dufresne pattern? Well, this is the pattern where I pick stocks off the trash heap. And if you guys don't know who Andy Dufresne is, Andy Dufresne, if you guys haven't seen the movie Shawshank Redemption, Andy Dufresne's working his way through the sewer pipe, and he comes out of the other side and he runs to say what to know with his friend, my friend Andy. This stock crashed and basically went through the sewer pipe for a huge amount of time. And when it came out and it broke that multiple time frame VWAP, we got very excited. Now, again, when you buy a stock at $12 and you bang it out in the 20s and close to $22, and then it rolled over, I kind of forgot about the trade. And yeah, I left a lot of money on the table. And I got back in after it broke 36. But this stock turned out to do exactly what I thought it was going to do. But I'm not going to bullshit you. I was out of this thing in the 20s and the 30s. But phenomenal, big fan, and still am a fan. And right here, look, you had faux show bro today. A lot of attempts to try to get the stock to go down, and the more times something tries to go down and then recaptures VWAP, super bullish. USAR, I'm a fan. I think I'm a fan, even though the stock's kind of letting me down. I had 2 really wonderful trades in this name, but now, it couldn't get back over that monthly. I had to cut it free. Took a small loss. We crushed it. We crushed it out of the earnings report. We had a really nice move that day, and then we caught it here. I thought we were going to be right back into that 1750 realm. This stock has disappointed me greatly. I'm still a fan, but now I got to wait to see what happens down at 1328 because, and again, stocks tell me what to do. I was swinging this bad boy, and we got so close to $20. Super, super disappointed that it didn't break the 20. But again, I don't let disappointment take my money. That's another reason I'm still doing the business. Disappointed, hit the button, I'm out. But I'm looking forward to buying this stock back. V-Wave, another one. Big fan of the V-Wave. Just very difficult to trade. But I like the fact that it came back. So if this consolidation leads to a break, I'm all about it. But right now, I got to wait because this is a lifetime VWAP and it's hovering right here. It breaks back under the 8, you're going to probably going down to the 650. But I'm going to wait for this consolidation. I like this stock. There's something about it. I dig it because usually after it gets pumped, the dump, it's come back now. It's come back twice, comes back 3 times. I'm going to have to own this thing. It just doesn't have enough volume for me to get excited on a daily basis. That's the only bad part about it. What else you got for me? And by the way, Q's doing exactly what we wanted. I mean, poof, what a cover. And we legitimately covered it at the low of the day. Right before we came on the air, we were covering our short. So now there's the 6250, which is VWAP. I hope we pop, and I hope we live up here for the rest of the afternoon because tomorrow I'm coming with vengeance. Vengeance. Because if we break today's lows and we break last Wednesday's lows, I think we're going to get another 11 or 12 points to the downside, and I'm going to make every damn point I can. Because, trust me, shorting is short-lived, and I've gotten my ass kicked most of my life. So if I can make 11 more points tomorrow on a QQQ short, I'm going to milk it as best I can. But it's got a setup. Lucid, not a fan. Beautiful car, hate the stock. I don't like any electric car company except for Tesla. I don't like them all. I don't like any of them. But today, you had the wonderful reason to buy. Faux show, bro. Couldn't get over the multi-day. The sellers are back. Not a fan. And again, this stock is just, again, they did the reverse split already, right? Just reverse splits. There's two sides to the story. Sometimes they pull the liquidity out of the stock and it gets squeezed. But most of the time, reverse stock splits are just them raising the price to short more of it on its way to zero. This stock's going to zero. Speaking of going to zero, and I'll leave you with this. A couple of weeks ago, I told you about a stock, Newegg. And I said, I will stake my career on this short. And I did. Because one thing about being bearish, right, is that I know what pump and dumps look like. But I also know Andy Dufresne's. And we were long the stock. And there's the reverse stock split, like I was explaining. Sometimes reverse stock splits, they take the liquidity out of the name, the volume comes in, and they get squeezes. This stock squoze. Is that even a word? Squoze. It's squeezed? I guess squeezed. Squoze, squeeze, squoze. It's squeezed from $3 to $137. Are you kidding me? I don't know why nobody was talking about this stock, but Kenny Glick was shorting the stock the other day at $129.50 with $1 risk. And I said our target was there. And if you did take that trade, congratulations. You just paid for at least 2 years of my chat room on this one idea, even on a measly couple of hundred shares. And that's my time. And I still think it's going to zero, but obviously we won the money. The trade's over for us. And it was glorious and awesome. I'll find another one that does this, but what goes up generally goes down, and most of these stocks are all pump and dump garbage stocks. And if I'm right about these Qs tomorrow, join me live tomorrow. Hitthebid.com. You'll find me on YouTube. You'll find me all over the internet. If what I believe is going to happen, we gap tomorrow and we roll over and break today's lows, I'm going to be putting on the biggest short position of my entire career, and I hope it works out because the last 6 times I've tried that, it hasn't worked. So 7 times a charm, baby. All right, you guys have a great rest of the afternoon. It's nice to hang with you. Thank you for being here. And tell your friends over at StockTwits to start getting these numbers up. 2 million people on the website. There should be at least 1.5 million people watching me right now. Where are you, friends? Where are you? Come on, wake up. It's Kenny Glick here. All right, I'll see you guys soon. Peace.